Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today's session is the first in a three-part series on artificial intelligence, and we will be discussing various concepts related to learning to implement AI in your applications. In today's session, we will cover Azure Cognitive Services, which is the ready-built AI service available on Microsoft Azure. Through this content, you will learn about the different options available to implement AI in your applications through the pre-built APIs. I'm sure you know me by now. My name is Hassan Mohsini. I'm the program manager for Microsoft Reactor in Abu Dhabi. Microsoft Reactors are hubs for founders and developers to meet, learn, and connect to local peers, as well as industry-leading ideas and technology from Microsoft partners and the open source community. It's also the home to the Microsoft for Startups program. With a diverse mix of hands-on workshops, expert panels, and community events, there's something for everyone. Check out our calendar of events on meetup.com and join our upcoming sessions. And also, don't miss the rest of the series in this month. Our speaker today is Dalia Tarek. Dalia is an Azure trainer, technical trainer at Microsoft, specialized in data and artificial intelligence, passionate about AI, machine learning, and data analysis. She keeps the customers up for success by providing deep technical consulting and advising through her trainings. Keep the Q&A tab open as I will be sharing some resources relating to today's session, and that's where you can be sending all your questions related to the topic of today to Dalia, and we will be having some time to answer these questions. I would love to hand over the mic to Dalia to take us through this AI journey.
Thank you so much, Hussein, for this amazing introduction. Hello, everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Dalia Tarek, and I am the technical trainer for Microsoft, as Hussein mentioned earlier. So I basically cover technical trainings for data and artificial intelligence for customers based in UAE. So for our series, I'm going to be discussing artificial intelligence in general. It's divided into 3 series. And for today's session, it's going to be just an introduction about artificial intelligence on Microsoft Cognitive Services. And these are the ready-made AI services for you to use. And it's very, very easy and simple. And I'm going to be discussing it in theory. And I'm going to show you some demos as well if you want to participate or engage in something technical and do it on your own as well. Okay, so allow me to share my screen. And I'll get started. All right. So, as I mentioned earlier, this is the first part of the series talking about cognitive services, and the rest of the series I'm going to talk about in details about some specific services that are going to be interesting to you if you want to try them out. So artificial intelligence in general is a word that we hear a lot, and it's not foreign to us anymore in 2021. Right now, it's everywhere in any application that we use, in any platform that we use, starting from the mobile application that unlocks with your face or with your fingerprint, or any social media application that you just find pictures with identification on the pictures, or even relevant information that you get from advertisements, from ads, from even recommendations on songs that you listen to or movies that you listen to. You always manage to find the relevant taste of yours when you're using any type of social media or any other platform. This is all through artificial intelligence, and essentially artificial intelligence is teaching the computer to act like a human, giving a human side to the computer. And this could be through vision, meaning that you teach the computer to see as a human. The computer is usually just bits and bytes, just some code. And usually when it sees an image or a video, it doesn't understand what's inside of it. But what we do with artificial intelligence is that we teach the computer to understand what's inside the image, to analyze what's inside the image, and then learn what we learn as humans. Another part is speech as well, like giving audio or converting audio into text or text into audio, like speaking or giving commands to your mobile, for example. This is part of having your computer act like a human as well. Language as well, understanding what you're saying in any language that you're saying, in any different format, in any sentence, in any different sentence. So this is a huge part of AI as well. Decision making or understanding content, understanding data, understanding knowledge, and being able to make decisions and being able to give answers from my data. This is part of AI as well. So all of this is applied how? How do we achieve any part of AI and add it into our own application and add it into our own platform as well? So traditionally, in order to achieve something like this, let's talk about vision, for example, or the images or videos. In order to train a computer to understand what's inside of an image, we need to give it a lot of examples, give it a lot of data, and then teach it what's inside of these examples. And then later on, when you give it a new image, it's going to understand what's inside of an image. So let's give an example of an image with a picture of a dog. I want to train the computer to understand that this image is a dog. How do I do this? So essentially, I just give it a lot of images of dogs. And I label them. I tell the computer, this is an image of a dog, this is not an image of a dog. Later on, the computer, using a lot of algorithms and statistics, the computer analyzes these images, analyzes the common features of what a dog looks like, and then later on, it's being able to realize a new dog when it sees it. So when I give it a new image of a whole new dog, it's going to realize the common features between how the dog looks like, and then later on it's going to know that this is a dog and this is not a dog. So this applies to everything. So not just images, not just dogs, of course, but just anything that you wanted to learn. So if you wanted to learn data, if you wanted to learn numbers, if you wanted to learn your sales data, images, voice, audio, text, anything, you need to give it a lot of historical data, train it, test it, and then deploy it to recognize new data. So historically, this used to be done in months in order to achieve one accurate model or one accurate algorithm that recognizes one thing. Because it takes a lot of training, it takes a lot of testing, and it takes a lot of time to get the best accuracy. So it takes a lot of data, for example, it takes a lot of trial and error in order to get the best accuracy possible. I need to make sure that the computer realizes everything as accurately as possible with no mistakes or minimal mistakes. So this takes from weeks to months in order to develop something good with a very, very powerful computer, servers, in order to get something like this. So it costs a lot of time and it costs a lot of money. So right now, it's getting a lot easier to develop something like this because what Microsoft did is it created all of these AI services and deployed it on the cloud for you to use without having to deploy servers, without having to have any knowledge on any of this. You don't have to write code, you don't have to write algorithms. You can just use the services that someone else built it for you to just deploy it as easily as possible on your own application. So in case you want to, for example, create a program that identifies a face inside of an image, you don't need to write your own program from scratch. You don't need to give a lot of images. You don't need to deploy a server. You don't need to write the code, try it and test it. No, you just use the program that's been written already on Microsoft Cloud and deploy it on your application and just deploy it as easy as it is. And we're going to see how we can do this. So this is essentially Azure Cognitive Services. These are basically AI services available on the cloud for you to use with as easy as just creating a request, an API request or an HTTP request to the service and getting the results back without having to write any code, without having to learn AI, without having to do any deep technical knowledge. So let's talk in brief about the services from the business side, and then talk it from see it from the technical side, or see some demos. So with cognitive services, we have these four areas. So the first area is the vision services, and these consist of computer vision, custom vision, face, form recognizer, ink recognizer, and spatial analysis. So basically, this is anything related to an image. Computer vision is the generic image analysis API that just detects anything inside of an image. Detects a tree, detects a dog, a cat, water, sun, sky, anything. Custom vision is if you want to train the program to detect something very customized to you, something that's not available on Azure or on the cloud, then you just train it with your own images, train it with your own customized set, and then you get your own results and your own program as well specified to you. Face recognizer is for face recognition, so it's specifically trained to recognize faces or identify them as well. If it's a celebrity, or you can train it to identify people on your own. Form and ink recognizer to just recognize a handwritten text, to recognize a form or an invoice that you have. So you give it the image of the form, if it's scanned, or a JPEG image or a PNG, and you get the result. Now let's go to speech. So there's also speech recognition and speech to text and text to speech. This is another service available as well. Language understanding. So basically, in any language, whenever we speak, we can speak a sentence in many, many different formats. It doesn't have to be one format, one specific command, or one specific format. So what language understanding does is it understands human language. It understands natural language. I don't have to give a command to the computer in one specific format. I can give it in any sort of sentence that I want, in any sequence that I want, and essentially it's going to understand what I'm saying. There's also text analytics. So you see this in a lot of examples. So let's say we have some tweets, or we have some text on Facebook that we want to analyze and see if these tweets are positive or negative. If you want to collect feedback, for example, on some specific area or some specific subject, then we just collect these tweets or collect this data, analyze the text itself, and see if it's positive or negative. And we're going to see some examples as well. And there's also something called a Q&A maker, and the Q&A maker basically is just a chatbot. So if you've dealt with chatbots before, you usually give it a question and it gives you an answer and creates a conversation with you just like a human being. And this is the part, it's a very, very smart engine that you can use. It's very intelligent that you can add into your applications and just simulate a human questions and answers conversation with understanding natural language as well. There's also APIs available for decision making. So let's say anomaly detection, content moderator. So starting with content moderator, for example, if there's any text or if anything that I want to automatically remove from my data, then I can train the API to detect this and moderate this and remove anything that I don't want without having me to intervene. Anomaly detection can be available as well for data. So if we have any credit card transactions, for example, and then one transaction was different from all of my regular transactions, then this is identified as fraud or as an anomaly or something strange or weird, then this is considered an anomaly, and this is considered, this should be alerted as well. And this is usually detected in fraud detection in banks, for example. There's also personalizer. This is a great example. So if you've used any streaming websites where you watch movies or music or videos, then later on you find out you get the videos recommended based on your own taste. This is because a personalizer API or personalizer program that's been installed inside of this platform that analyzes your taste, analyzes your history, and then brings you recommendations based on the things that you prefer. Now, all of these services are available on Microsoft Cloud. So on the cloud, it's basically a service that you use. You don't need to manage virtual machines. You don't need to manage servers. You just use the service as it is. And it's in the form of an API. So by API, if you're not familiar with it, it's basically just a program hosted on a server. And it gives you a link, a website link. And you connect to this link using a secret key. You get create requests, HTTP requests, and you get results. This case allows you to integrate this universally in any application. It's not very specific. It's not a very specific language. It's just a universal request that you can add in on a mobile application, a website, anything. And this allows you to be as agile, and it allows it to be as easy as possible to integrate any of these services into your own application. And we also provide container support. So containers means that you can deploy your own model, deploy your own AI model, and then extract it into the form of a container and then deploy it on your own servers. If you have any local servers in your company, then you can deploy the container on your own servers or just extract it anywhere you want. It doesn't have to be on the cloud. Okay, so cognitive services, as I mentioned, has a lot of capabilities: vision, speech, language, and decision. And these are all of the examples, the great examples that you can get. Now let's see what real-world applications can we get and what results do I usually get from these services. So talking about vision, for example, this is an example that there's an image of people sitting around and having a meeting. Now, what we get from this image, what results or what can I analyze in this image? So you see here, we have a category that this is an image of people, and there's a count of 5 faces. So the program or the cognitive services was able to identify how many faces are in the image and identify that this is an image of people. It also gave you some statistics about the dominant color and then some other statistics as well that I'm going to show you later on. There's also an example for speech. So let's say you're on your mobile phone. Whenever you give a command to your mobile phone with the location, for example, or anything that you want to do on the mobile, you just give it into speech format, and then it understands it, turns it into text, and then does the command for you. And in order for the mobile application to understand your command, you need the language over here. So with natural language processing, you can give the command to the mobile in different sentences. So it can be play today's customer call reading, or you can give it the sentence in any different format, and it's going to understand what you're saying essentially, and then do the command for you through language. This is also an example for decision making. So in decision making API, this is some just statistical data that you have, and there are some points over here that are just strange from the pattern that you have in your regular data. So this means that these data points are fraudulent, or this might be an anomaly or something strange that it's happening in your side of your data. Hence, you need to take alert, or you just need to give attention to this point. There's also a great example for search, and I'm going to show you an example as well. So for search, you can deploy your own search engine with your own data, and then apply intelligence on this search engine or on this data in order to give you some insights or some statistics or analysis about this data. Okay, so let's talk about vision, for example. This is another example for face identification. So over here, I basically used the cognitive services by giving it this image, and it gave me this result. So first of all, it detected that there's a face inside of an image. It detected that this is the location of the face. So it gave me a bounding box that has the location of the face, and this is the size. And in the end, it gave me some statistics about what's this face like. So there's a gender, and then age, glasses or no glasses, and then emotion as well. So you can identify a lot of things about the face, you can identify a lot of statistics about the face and a lot of features, and it can be useful for you for any application that you want to integrate. So let's say you want to integrate an application that detects your own face whenever you want to open an app, for example, then you can use this sort of API in order to detect your face and identify it as well, and then know or analyze who is using your application or what's inside of your video or what's inside of your camera. So these are all of the services available under the Vision services, anything that has to do with images, with videos, with faces, with handwritten text, with scanned text, with scanned images, with PDFs. You have all of these services available for you to integrate into your application. And as for the speech, for example, over here you have some speech recognition or identifying who is speaking, converting audio to text, verifying the voice itself because I know who is speaking, and then text to audio as well. You can type in your own text and it's turned into audio. This is an API that you can use inside of your own application. You can just easily deploy it with an API by sending it the speech and getting the result back in text. As simple as that. Now, as for the language or the text analytics, this is a great one. So over here, I gave my application some text. I had a wonderful trip from Portland to Seattle. I enjoyed seeing the Space Needle, but it is smaller than the Eiffel Tower. So over here, the API was able to analyze my text and give me these statistics. So it gave me the languages. So this is English with a confidence of 100%. So it's 100% that confident or sure that this language is English. It gave me some key phrases that were spoken earlier, just like Seattle, wonderful trip, Portland, Eiffel Tower. These are all key phrases that with analysis, with grammar analysis and natural language processing, the API was able to identify that these phrases are important and these are key phrases, and then give me or alert me to these key phrases just to analyze. And as for the sentiment, is this a good sentence or a bad? Is it positive? Does it have positive sentiments or not? It says that has positive 100% because it has some keywords over here, just like I had a wonderful trip, I enjoyed seeing. So these are all keywords that gave it a hint that this is a good sentence. The person who's typing the sentence is happy, it's not sad. And there's also an option to identify entities, just like location. So Portland or Seattle or Eiffel Tower. So these are important locations that was identified from the sentence as well. And the API gave me these results. Okay, so let's talk about Chatbot, for example. This is another example for a chatbot. So let's say I have inside of my company, I have a frequently asked questions section, and I want to deploy this in a form of questions and answers of a chatbot that can interact with my customer. So essentially what I do is just I upload my document, PDF document, for example, I upload it into the API, and eventually the API creates an engine that gets questions like this and gives out the answers like this. So essentially the chatbot is basically gives out this question. Hi, I'm Q&A chatbot. How can I help you today? The customer asks, what is a product key? So the chatbot takes in the sentence, analyzes that this is an English sentence, analyzes the format of the sentence, the grammar, and then gets out the content of the sentence that the customer is asking about a product key. So this is the main key for us, that he wants the product key. And by analyzing what is means that he is asking for information about the product key. So the engine grabs the information about the product key from the PDF and then gives out this answer that it finds. So what you basically do as a user for the Q&A chatbot, you basically just upload your document, and then the engine which will be created on its own, and then it's going to give questions and answers like this. This is not an easy task. Historically, it's not an easy task to do at all, but with Microsoft API, you can implement this as simple as a few hours, and you can implement a whole new chatbot for your own website as easy as this without having to learn how to code, without having to learn how to deploy your algorithms or artificial intelligence or anything. So these are all of the services available under the language services, text analytics, questions and answers. There's even translator and language understanding. And this is also the API for decision making, and this is basically just for anyone who has a website or who has any data that wants to analyze his data, just like a bank who has some transactions, for example, and wants to understand his transactions, his customers' transactions, then he can use this in order to detect anomalies or make decisions, or even get personalization or recommendations for your users. Okay, so now that's all the theory that I have, and now it's time to show you some demos, and it's time to show you how can you apply all of these business cases, all of these use cases inside of your own application, and how can you do this. Okay. So over here, this website is specified for AI demos. If you go to aidemos.microsoft.com, you can find a lot of demos for you to just check out and see how can you use this and how can you even learn to deploy this from some tutorials available online as well. Okay, so let's start with this demo, which is called Video Indexer. So this is a demo for the API about Video Indexer, and I'm going to show you how they used it or what results do they use it, and I'm going to show you how is it being used as well. So over here, we have a video of Satya Nadella speaking and giving a speech. So this video, the API, so basically the platform or the website just sent the video to the API and got these results. So let's see what results can we get from the API, from the Video Indexer API. So the first result over here is that it recognized the people inside of the video. So it recognized two people, Satya Nadella and Sam George. So these are the two people recognized, and it told you at which minutes or which sections did they appear, and some statistics about when did they appear. So this is the first thing that we got from the Video Indexer API, which is people inside of the video. The second thing is that it identified key topics. So the Video API listened to the speech or the audio available from the video, and then turned it into text, analyzed the text itself, and extracted the key topics that were spoken inside of the video. So these key topics were spoken over here: IoT Edge, Intelligent Edge. So this was identified as it's probably something important that they were speaking of, based on the tone of the voice, based on how much it was repeated, based on a lot of things. So it analyzed the text, analyzed what they were saying, and then identified these as important topics. The next thing that was identified was sentiment. So it analyzed text as well and says that at this point they were saying something positive, and at this point it was just neutral, and there was nothing negative inside of the video. After this, we have something called annotation. So basically the API identified everything inside of the video and identified or described what is the scene like, what is inside the scene. So identified that there's a person, indoor, man, wearing black, there's a screenshot, floor, ceiling, Nintendo monitor, so all of this appeared inside of the video. So let's click on Nintendo over here. It seems that it has appeared in these times, in these minutes inside of the video. So this is just a description of the video. You can see a lot of examples. If you upload a video to the Video Indexer API, it can identify a lot of stuff. If it's an outdoor scenery, if it's a sea, a tree, all of this generic stuff, it can identify it and it can give you the result of the annotations or the description. And the last thing is just a transcription over here. So this is basically just turned the speech into text and created it as a transcription or a transcript for the video. So all of these important information, important information we got out just by sending the video to Video Indexer API or to cognitive services. And we got all of these results as simple as that. I didn't have to learn coding. I didn't have to learn AI. I didn't have to do anything. I simply just uploaded it and got the text back. Okay. Now let's have a look at the text analytics demo. Okay. So over here, this is using the text analytics API as well. So over here, I wrote a sentence. Saturn is the 6th planet from the sun. So this is the sentence that I sent it. Again, using the cognitive services API, I just sent this text to the API and I got all of these results. So the first result that I got is sentiment and key phrases. So the sentiment over here is that it's neutral. It's a neutral sentence. It doesn't have anything positive or negative. If I typed in another example, let's try out something else. This is a very bad experience. So you see here, when I typed in this negative sentence, I got in the result of 7% negative. So this is probably a very, very bad sentence that I'm unhappy when I typed in this text. So back to the original text, it also identified some key phrases. So these are the key phrases that it identified: Saturn, planet, Jupiter, Earth, times. So this is something that might be important. It's not just word fillers. These are important words inside of the sentence. There's also something called entity linking. So if this is something that's famous or that's known, just like the Jupiter, Sun, Earth, all of this. So this is known. So this can be linked to an entity. And in the end, it gave me just a link to Wikipedia about this content. And in the end, it just applied Bing search on the data that I sent. So this is another example for text analytics. You can use this API in your own application. For example, if you have any customer service feedback text, for example, that you get and you want to analyze if the customer is saying something positive or negative, or if some words are being spoken a lot about, then you can just analyze your customer service text, and it's going to give you these analyses in the end, and it's going to help you make decisions, or it's going to help you analyze the quality of your customer service. Now, going over to computer vision, and we're going to have a whole new series about the computer vision in the next series. This is going to be a whole new hour dedicated to computer vision because it's very interesting. So for computer vision, you can analyze and describe images, read text, read handwriting. So let's try out some of these sample images over here. So I'm going to select this image. So by sending the image to the API, I got these results. I got that it's 100% confident that this is outdoors. There's skyscrapers, there's road, car, downtown, city, street, sky. So all of this was described inside of the image, and it's sure that this is available inside of the image with these accuracy percentages. And over here we have a text description of the image. And we have some statistics as well about the moderation of the image itself and if something that needs to be cropped out. So another example is reading text in image, and this is using the technology of optical character recognition. So basically over here, I have an image that has text inside of it. So it has this sign, and essentially I just sent the image to the API and I got this extracted as text. I got these numbers and streets and 42. So this is very good if you have a lot of images that you want to search for. If you want to search what's inside of your images using text, you can detect something like this. If an old signed document with handwritten, or if something that's an image of a document or image of a text, you can use this as well. This one, for example, just reads the handwritten text and turns it into digital text. And this one recognizes celebrities and landmarks. Okay. Now let's have a look at how do we deploy something like this? How do we deploy any of these cognitive services inside of my application? So over here, I'm connected to my Azure portal. So this is Microsoft Cloud Portal, and I created an Azure subscription, my own subscription, and I created a resource called Cognitive Services. Let's try and create one. So I just type in the search here, Cognitive Services. I click on Cognitive Services, and I add in a new resource. So the way it works is just it's resource based. Whenever you choose a new resource, you just create it. So I'm just gonna choose Cognitive Services here. And I'm going to create a new resource for computer vision, for example. So over here, I have computer vision resource. So I'm just going to click on create. And the way you created a resource on Azure, you just choose your own subscription and then create something called a resource group, which is basically a folder that you put in your resources to just organize it. You can choose them from many regions. So there's regions all over the world. These are basically just the data centers available from Microsoft. So you can just choose whichever region you want to choose. So let's choose, there's one available in UAE, by the way. It's available now. And you just give it a name. And it has to be unique. So I'm just giving it this name. And you can choose the pricing tier. So we have a free pricing tiers, and it's limited to a few calls per minute. So the way this is calculated is just whenever you send a request to the API, this is calculated as one request. There's free and standard. So you just choose whatever, and then you create the resource. Now, after the resource has been created, I have this resource over here. This is created. So you get all of this information that you can use. And the way you use the resource is basically you have in something called an endpoint. And the endpoint is basically just a URL. And this is going to be basically your URL. And this is how you're going to use the request. And you get in keys as well. So how do you send a request to this cognitive services? You just basically create an HTTP request to this endpoint. So you put in the URL, you put in the key in the headers, and then put in the request, whatever you want to get from the URL, and you get the results back in JSON. Okay, so let's have a look at an example if you want to test this out, if you're familiar with HTTP requests, then you're just good to go. Just send the requests from the API documentation, add it into your website, and then send the request and get it back. If you're not, you can use something called Postman, and this is just an application that you can download on your laptop, and it simulates an HTTP request for you. You can send requests through it and then get the results back. Now, for the sake of the demo over here, Microsoft has a documentation for the APIs, and it just gives you a website that you can add in your keys in, and it simulates the HTTP request for you. So let's try out the API for form recognizer over here. This is the API for recognizing text inside of the image. So over here I have this image. This is a receipt, and it's just taken as a picture, and it has all of this information. It has the items and the prices in the end. So what I want to do is basically I want to turn this into text and save this into text for my own use. So how I'm going to use this, I'm going to put in my website URL, which is this. This is the URL that was available earlier here. And I'm going to add in my key. So this is the key available that's secured only for my use. No one else can use this because this is my own subscription. And I'm going to send it the link for the image. So this is over here. This is the URL for the image that I showed you earlier for this image. And this is the format of the request. So this is going to be the request. It's an HTTP request, post request, and it has this content, it has the key, and it has the source inside of the body. So once I click send, I get this result. I get this analysis. So using the form that I sent it earlier, I get this code, and then I can use this code later on to see the results. So I take this code over here and apply it to another request, and this is the result that I get. So over here, this is the JSON result, and this is the status. So it succeeded, the request succeeded. I sent it this image, and this is the result that I get. The first thing is that it analyzed that this is a receipt, and it turned it into just some boxes of the receipt. So over here, it's detected the first text, which is Contoso. This is the name of the company over here. This is the address. This is in another block. So it detected this block over here. This is the address. And then detected the phone number. This phone number. And down below over here, you can see that this is price. So it changed it into JSON format, and it changed everything inside of it to over here. This is the, for example, the first item, which is bacon and eggs over here, and this is the price for it. So it automatically detected that this is the first item, bacon and eggs, and this is the price. So literally, without me doing any coding or anything, I just sent out this image to the API, and on its own, it identified the data inside of the image. Now, if I want to use this inside of my applications, I'm just going to read inside of this text. I'm going to read this JSON format and then add it into a database or analyze it on my own, create a Power BI dashboard. I can do whatever I want with it. Now let's try out another demo for Face API. So I have over here this image of a face, and I need to analyze it using the Face API. So this is the documentation for Face API as well. And I'm going to use this API over here. I'm going to show you how you can create the HTTP request. So this is the URL for my created cognitive services from here. And I just taken the key and add it over here. And then I'm going to add in some parameters of what do I want to get from this image. So over here, I just want to return face attributes, just like age, gender, noise, exposure. All of this, I can get it from the image. I have the content type over here and the headers and the key. And inside of the body of the request, I'm going to add in this image URL, which is this one. Just added it over here inside of the body. And this is how I'm going to send my request. This is the post HTTP request. It has the URL over here and the key and the body. And once I send it to the API, I get these results. So inside of my JSON results, I have face rectangle, which is basically the location of the face itself. So this is the X and Y location of the face. Face attributes, so meaning that there's a smile, head pose, which head pose does it have, the gender, and it detected it as a female, approximate age of of who's inside of the image, and then if there's glasses, and what's the emotion of the person. So it's neutral. They're not smiling, they're not happy, angry, fear. It's detected that this is the most accuracy that you can get out of all of the other emotions. So this is 0.98% sure that this is neutral. And you see here there's other statistics about makeup, accessories, hair. So this is just a lot of things that you can gather from one image. And again, what you basically did is that you sent it the image itself and you got the result like this. You don't need to type in any code for recognizing the image, recognizing faces. You don't need to do any hard coding or work in order to get these results. You just send it and get the results as you wish. So that was basically just the introduction for cognitive services. You can use this as you like. If you want to go, you can go to the links inside of the that you can get from the event link. You can get some links of the learning modules, the how you can learn this from MS Learn. There's some self-help tutorials there for free. You can try them out and see how you can integrate this to your applications and how you can try this out. You can also sign up for a free Azure credit for $200. Just put in your credit card and you get the $200 credit. You can use it for free and try out any of these services and see how it goes. Now, for the last 10 minutes that we have, we can get some questions and answers. And if you have any questions, if you have anything that you want to learn, if you have any concerns, I'll be able to answer them right now through the Q&A box.
Thank you, Dalia, for today's session. I think we got a few questions already, and I highly encourage the community as well to keep on sending their questions in the few minutes that we got. Now, there was a question early on the spatial analysis service when you were explaining all the cognitive services. So maybe you want to give us some information about that?
Okay, sure. So let me just check out the questions inside of the Q&A and then okay. Okay, so the first one is for spatial analysis service. So spatial analysis service is basically part of the computer vision service, and it's basically used for videos. For example, if you have some CCTV videos, or if you have some videos of people walking around, or anything that you want to analyze inside of the video, what spatial analysis does is basically it just analyzes the physical spaces and analyzes people's movement and the presence within a given area. So it analyzes what's inside of the video and then gives you some analysis or description or transcription about what's inside of the video. Um, okay, so moving on to the next question.
Yeah, the next question was on, is there any mapping for the documentation? When you mentioned about the chatbot and the ability to use it as a feature to answer customer questions, is there any mapping required in that step, or they just need to upload the document about that product, let's say?
Okay, so in regards to the chatbot, it takes a bit of work in order to just adjust. So basically, the way you start, you have a portal that you upload your documents in, and then the portal analyzes and recognizes everything inside of the document. And then what you can do is you don't need to do a lot of mapping, but it's mapped on its own. It extracts everything on its own. But what you can do is you can add in extra questions. You can improve the accuracy. You can go back and forth with the questions, trials and errors, do some testing, and make sure that everything is mapped well. But initially, it maps everything automatically. You don't need to do the work initially, but of course, in order to improve your accuracy, you need to do some work with the trial and error and adding more questions, adding more mapping, and doing more work. There's a module available on MS Learn that allows you to learn Chatbot from scratch. You can try it out as well, and it shows you how you can just create a simple chatbot in a few minutes. Okay, so
there was a question about the session being recorded. Yes, it is recorded, and all of this series, as mentioned earlier, this is a three-part AI series with Dalia. So today is one, and we will have also in the coming 2 weeks 2 more. So make sure you're taking part of that. You're registered on the Reactor meetup, and these sessions are recorded and will be available on the YouTube channel on Microsoft Reactor on YouTube. There was a question about the cloud credit. Is there a link for that we can share with the community? I'll share it with the announcement. Yeah. So Dalia is typing that for you, right? You got it there. And there was a question about the further resources about these services to learn more. I put 2 links, and Dalia also is sharing some more. So you can continue the journey on Microsoft Learn. There are some modules that we referenced there in the Q&A. So keep learning and continue this journey, and don't miss the upcoming 2 sessions.
There's also available Cloud Society. This is a platform as well, a website that you can check out. It has all of the learning information available on MS Learn and extra instructor-led tutorials that you can check out and register for as well.
Definitely. So the Cloud Society is also a great resource for all of you to check out. And there is one more question about the text-to-speech and the different voices. Is there any demos that they can check out? Language support? Maybe you can highlight something on that.
Of course. So I'll share a link. I'm just getting the link. So there are some tutorials available on the documentation that can show you how do you use the text-to-speech and speech-to-text. So it's a basic, it has all of the basic functions and extra ones. So basically just, it analyzes different voices, yes. It analyzes or recognizes people. If you teach it, you can teach it to identify who is the speaker, and later on it can identify the speaker on its own. And turning text to speech and speech to text, just the audio, you send it the audio and it gives you the result, or you send it text and it gives you the audio. And there are a bunch of languages supported as well. There's a lot of languages supported from speech to text, and it's available on the documentation. I'm just going to send the documentation now on the chat.
That's great. All right, quick reminder, everyone, we're doing a survey after each session to understand more from you the content that you would love to see us at the Reactor bringing to you. So please take a minute or two to send us this feedback. I'm just gonna paste again the link in the Q&A tab for the survey. Just spend a minute, use the event ID 12715 for today's session. And I highly encourage you not to miss the upcoming 2 sessions, same time next week, for the next 2 weeks with Dalia. And we have more interesting stuff also on AI happening this month. So make sure also you check out the Reactor calendar on meetup.com and join us and share also these sessions. You definitely need to share these sessions. Everything we're doing is free, open to all your network friends can be part of the meetup community where over 2,500 members now in the Reactor in Abu Dhabi. And these sessions also are available to the nearby reactors across EMEA. So also make sure you're part of EMEA reactors because all our programming is happening online now, and it can be accessible to you at your own convenience. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. If you're missing any session, you can catch it there. I think that's all for today. Thank you again, Dalia, for taking the time to share your experience with our community, and looking forward to seeing you next week. Until then, have a great rest of the week, and see you next week. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Take care soon. Bye.